Human Voices on 106.5 KQWZ LPFM, connecting our community through history, heritage, art, and culture. We share the stories of Highline region and its people, embracing our differences and celebrating what we share.
Hi everyone, this is Nancy from the Highline Heritage Museum and welcome back. Today I'm super excited. We have this wonderful artist that I'm dying to get to know her more, trying to learn who she is, and we're more than thankful for the opportunity. Why are we doing this? Why not? Why not to get to know our neighbors or friends or community members? Why not to see who lives around us and who is sharing their light through the art and through performance and through many different projects they might be doing around the community. And so that's why we're doing this. And I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to just get to know you and then be able to share your story on this format. So what do you think? Are you ready?
I'm ready. I thank you for having me here. This is such a nice treat.
Okay, so I only got one question and then we'll take it from there. Who
Okay.
are you?
Just a simple question.
I know. Not everyone. It's very interesting to observe that reaction from people. Even before we start the interview, people are
Yeah.
like, uh-oh. I was like,
Uh-oh.
yeah, that's only one simple question. But yeah,
Right.
everyone has a different answer to that question. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's ever changing, which is kind of a cool way to even talk about this related to the project that I'm here to talk about and letter writing, because I was just thinking about letters yesterday for another talk I was giving and how letters are such a time capsule. And when you find a letter from yourself at a previous stage, it was like, oh, I was a different person then. So who I am today is I'm Anna. I live in North Bend, so a little outside Burien, but I am a writer and a mom. I'm an artist kind of by chance. I create public art installations that are meant to get people offline and be in community in different ways. And I do that through the project that's currently at the Highline Heritage Museum, but also in workshops and retreats and yoga practice, embodied practice to, again, just I'm always trying to slow myself down. And I'm a person who I think is seeking some slowness and some meaning in the experience of living as a human. And part of the way that I do that is by teaching or drawing others into that space. So that's me.
That's you. Well, that's already very fascinating. And so you mentioned that you have a project here with us at the museum. What is the project about?
Yes. So right now in Burien, I have actually two interactive mailboxes set up for a project that I call the Community Mailbox Experiment. Burien is actually my second home for these mailboxes. They were in Issaquah at the beginning of this year. They'll be in Burien through the end of this year at the Highline Heritage Museum and the Community Center. And both mailboxes are stuffed with envelopes that are pre-addressed, pre-stamped, filled with a blank card, and then also a little insert that explains how to use the card and a prompt for what to write in the card if you need or want that. And the hope of the project and of the mailboxes is that people from all across the community of Burien and visiting Burien will pop in and grab a blank card and bring it home, or even maybe sit in the museum and feel inspired by the art or the work or the people there and just write their story, again, kind of who they are in that moment, and what they're thinking about, what matters to them. And what I found in Issaquah was this project created such a beautiful quilt of individual and universal stories, and like surprising stories. The different voices that came through were really so beautifully woven together and like so different, but also we're all part of the same fabric. And so I'm excited to see a similar thing come to life in Burien and to display those letters. I think in the new year, we're going to have a bit of an exhibit of those letters. So I'm really excited to get them. I know that there are a few that have made it to the P.O. box now, I think 16, and I'm going to get my hands on them next week, and I can't wait to read them.
Why? What's the purpose? I mean, the purpose seems clear, but I guess the question is why? Why that format
Yeah.
and why the need to do it like that?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I have a very long-winded answer, which is that it's funny when you asked at the beginning, why are we doing this? And then said, why not? I feel like that is the question that powers most of my work and life. And in 2019, I started this business called Pidge Post, which was it was a tech startup. And the motto that I used to say all the time was I was leveraging technology to make human connection frictionless, which now I look back on and again, like, oh, that was a version of myself that's very different from the person today who believes firmly that like human connection is friction. And we live in this world that is asking us to look for ease and convenience and efficiency everywhere. And like to really, in my opinion and experience, be a human being, you have to engage in some level of like friction and discomfort. So I started this business, and the point of it was to make it easier with tech to send handwritten notes. And I started it right as COVID started, and right as I found out I was pregnant and had just moved to this new place in the woods where I didn't know anyone. And I needed connection so badly that I started to really like focus in on the problem that I was solving, which was not, it's someone's problem. And I think that this is a good thing to figure out. How do you make it easy and accessible for people to send cards, which is partially what the mailbox project grew out of, is like the mailbox is right there. If you walk by it, you just open it and you take your card and it has all the materials. But also, how do we invite people? Like, how do I share the beauty and the value of that act of like actually sitting down with a card? Like, that's what really started to matter to me for myself. And then receiving letters from other people. And so the business has just transitioned into these different stages. And at one point I got my hands on a mailbox that I thought I would use to create like a little free library of cards in my community. And it just the use case was not that straightforward to people. They needed a little more direction. So setting it up in more of like a gallery space where it's tailored, it's there for a set amount of time. The cards are there with the stamps and the envelopes. They go somewhere like to a stranger, but they go somewhere kind of concrete and then reflect back out to the community after. Ended up being the right medium. But really, like this stage here and looking for like creating the space for community to interact kind of in this individual and communal and universal way through these letters really came from this idea of like, how can tech make it easy for us to be more connected? And it's come so far. So every time I'm, thinking about these projects or doing this, I'm like, life is ever changing, and the why is always changing.
Oh yeah, I think that that's when my daughter was a young one. Now she's close to 19. She asked me a question. Well, we used to have this game of tell me one thing that would never change.
Mm.
And it took us years. It took us years for
Can you
her and
break
for me to have this
down?
dialogue at different phases in her life. And everything changes. There's no, I mean, the houses, rocks, nature, us. There's nothing that is still. There's nothing that stops and freezes in time in way that, you can find it again, the same condition, the same way in 50 years from now. And so there is this very beautiful approach of reflection and the introspection of who you are now and in this phase, and who your future self will look down and say, okay, look at how much I grow, how much I mature, how much I've experienced after that.
Mhm.
You use the term universal, and I got my own interpretation of it. When you talk about the how different everyone is so different, but there's also this universal approach to we are from the same fabric, and that's what you just said. But I just want to make sure that we, all of us, understand what it means to you. To me, I can give you a 20-minute explanation of what universal means, but this is about you. When you use that term, what does that mean to you?
Before I answer that, can I ask, was it with you and your daughter talking about things changing? Was that something that then she or you had to grapple with about everything changing, or was it something that was kind of comforting because of how you two discussed it?
I think it was all of it. I mean, when we ask that question when she's 5, when she's 10, when she's 15, which is now, almost an adult, the answer is different, and the context on asking that question is different. Sometimes is seeking revalidation that, you know, that we take things for granted. We think that we have everything, we'll always have everything is around us and will always stay the same way. And currently, I see that one of the biggest issues is changes for a lot of people. What does that mean? It changes the lifestyle in people, community, and all kinds of things. And so, when using that term of it's just an opportunity to reflect on us and or grow individually, it's also an opportunity to just also feel comfort. I mean, she was using what my love, your love, like, no, that changes too. That
Mm,
changes too, because we become different people as we continue to move forward. And the love, I'm assuming, will get deeper because
right.
now we're seeing more aspects of what that person is. We might have issues, but and life is being life, but the love continues to grow in ways that is against the weather,
Mhm.
but it continues to grow. It is not the same. It's not static.
Yeah.
We agree, the two of us, that time, just the term time,
Yeah.
will always be the same. It will not change. That no matter what we do, time will continue to be the secure thing that will never change.
Mm-hmm.
That's at the end of the day, it's time. And then she came up with two more that I forgot already. But yeah. But now I can say
Love that. I know.
I've been
Sorry.
no, it's okay. I've been judged before by me talking too much, and I don't want to
No.
overtake
Oh,
the
okay. Well,
microphone. So I
I
want to
want
make sure that you had that space, and that this is you. So universal. What does that mean to you?
universal. So it's a good question because I think you're right. There are a lot of different ways to look at it. The way that the way that I experience it through the mailbox is, and I guess I should maybe caveat to say, certain people are picking up cards and sending them. I don't have a true sample size of everybody in this country or in our towns or communities. So that piece, should be clarified. What I think is really beautiful about the experiment is I see these threads from all different people. So even though I'm saying it's not a true case study, I still get letters from, a super right wing conspiracy theorist and very progressive, liberal who's really worried about the state of things. You see, there are disparate people and belief systems coming together. But the thing that kind of comes through in everybody's letter is a desire to be seen, a desire to have a meaningful experience and existence, and a desire to be in connection with other people who see and understand them. And I think the sheer fact that people are taking the cards and writing them is expressing that, right? They want to be seen by somebody. And I'm so grateful to be that person who gets to see them in that way. Um, but when I say a universal thread, I guess what I mean is that everybody is writing their own story, their own experience. But what comes up over and over again as either a subtext theme or an actually like written out thing is a desire to be seen for who they are, loved for who they are, and to have a life that is meaningful to them, whatever that means.
No, and yes, I love that. I love that. Also, I love how you mention experiment. In some cases, people will say, well, it's an exhibit or it's a project. But no, you are very intentional calling it an experiment.
Yes.
And in some places also we'll call, when I say exhibit, it's like an interactive exhibit where
Mm-hmm.
it's a piece, it's a concept, and then you engage with people. But what I like about what you're saying experiment is that you are open to the outcomes of that experiment, that you don't
Totally.
have a very specific results in mind, that like when in interactives, you allow people to interact with the elements, but you kind of know what is the outcome of things. But with this experiment term, for me, it seems more like, okay, let's just see how people react to us. let's just see what is it they look at. It's more about, okay, let's really see what is out there. I don't know the outcome. I want to learn more about it. Let's find out.
Yeah.
And so in my field, 20 plus years on this thing, and just to call it or see it as an experiment is kind of refreshing for me to
Yeah.
see it that way. So, you know, you do tap it into that universal thread of what makes us as human. And the validation of our existence and the cravingness of belonging, to being able to see each other and to say, hey, I'm right here, but I'm also connections and having meaningful experiences. It's a very interesting topic because you don't hear more of that. You hear more of the stress. You hear more of the pain. You hear more of the look at the news. You see more bad news. You don't see good news. You barely see good news. It's mostly of so it is a beautiful project that you're working on in the element of bringing out the human element and then also bringing some light to it and seeing
Hmm.
how similar we are. I really, really believe that we have way more things in common than differences.
Yeah.
Yes, we do have a color of a skin, different backgrounds and so on, but we are the human, we're humans, and we all want to eat, we all want to sleep, we all want to feel like we have a nice warm house, we want to feel like we're loved and we are being respected. We want to have our kids growing up in a healthy environment and we want community. I mean, there's the list for me. This we want more of the same things than the
Mm.
differences. Now, are we unique? Do we have a unique stamp? Absolutely. Do we have a different perspective? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, we do relate to when we say the word pain, or when you say the word tears, or when you
Hmm.
say love and connectivity, you immediately know what that means on your own different interpretation. So
Totally.
tell us more, a little bit more about you. And so, so you have these two projects, one from this is the second round of it.
Mhm.
Are you planning to extend that on the next year to a different location, or are you seeing an experimental mode and not knowing where you're heading?
I am really in this experimental mode of not knowing. I think when I started Page Post as a business, I was like so clear on what the goal was. I was like a manifester, it's going to be this. And I have wound that back so much to basically, like the Buddhist approach of just taking like the next good step without any expectation of what like the fruit of the labor will be. And maybe that's a mistake, but what I have found is that the fruits are much better or more real because I'm just like, well, I did this experiment in Issaquah. I met Siley through that experiment. She brought this to Beery and now we're here. Now it might take on a different shape, or I recently had someone ask about bringing it into hospitals or places where people are isolated from community and how to kind of create the shape of this project in a space like that, which I think is really interesting. I have the flexibility to play because it's pretty small. And so I'm just sort of open to what comes next, whether it's, in another neighborhood or community, or maybe it takes a pause and then it comes back again in another way. I will say the letter writing element and the handwriting piece to me is just has become so core to both my own practice as a human and a journaler and someone who explores things through poetry and writing and reading, that I do and will continue to hold like letter writing specific workshops, which I know we'll talk about, but also journaling and yoga workshops or movement and writing workshops, ways to kind of just create that embodied space in community. So that art experiment, this piece will be one thing, and I don't know what it looks like after this, but then also continuing to truly bring people together and hold that space in community, in that way will also remain. And again, the shape will continue to, I don't know, shift, but writing will kind of continue to sit at the middle because it's just so beautiful. It's a privilege, and it's also like punk rock to handwrite things these days. So I like doing that.
Yeah, and I think that it's something about perfection that it keeps coming to in so many different ways, but like with technology, like writing an email, a message, correcting the spelling, making sure that you're always proper, that you're saying the right way. And so that's one. And then with this AI, it's even the Photoshop images. And then now with Chat GPT, they had to do specific commands. And it's just very interesting how everything is about perfection. Is to
Hmm.
be perfect, is to show the best light of us. But then the more that's happening, the more away we are from our authentic selves, because it feels like we are walking in a direction of what is demanded of us versus us bringing as we are granted. In a professional matter, you do need to come across professional. You cannot just be yourself.
Sure.
But at one point, where do you reconcile that the digital presence versus who you are and you handwriting, even if people cannot understand, and even if you make mistakes, or even if you add extra words that was not supposed to be there. And I think that the writing element provides that raw, authentic self that when it is in a digital format, just you don't bring in those mistakes, you don't bring in those that tendency or the subconsciousness of perfection that it has to come. And so, yeah, I'm very appreciative of how you are addressing that two
Hmm.
dynamics on this
Yeah.
format.
Yeah. I think that's like the most beautiful. Again, the part about being human that to me is the most interesting is how messy and imperfect we are. And also, we're trying, like there's something so charming, I think, about all of us, like just messing up over and over again and continuing to try. Um, and again, yeah, just wanting to matter and be seen. It's like, it's so small. I find it charming, but also we're up against the system that is asking us to, yeah, be perfect, to look, and also to be the same, to look the same and talk the same. And all that machine element does that. It like condenses us. And that makes me feel sad enough that like I feel like I could start crying, but it just what a waste to like waste all our imperfection, which is what makes us creative and interesting and worthwhile, and put that into machines. And I'm guilty of it. Like I'm talking about it like on some high horse, but I am very guilty of it myself. I don't use AI at all yet. I'm sure that will come for me, but it's so much easier to write an email and draft it, or write an essay and draft it, versus, sit in the mess of my own self. It's uncomfortable, but I think it's like ultimately, again, that friction is what makes human living valuable. So anyway, I guess I'm saying the same thing over and over again, but the imperfection is such a big piece of that. And I love that in the letters too. I love when people, I literally got one last night that was like, this young woman, she had just turned 29. She's lived in the area for almost a year. She was talking about feeling she was feeling settled. And she wrote this, 2 pages of the card. And then she got to the end and she said something like, I feel like I'm being really self-centered right now. Uh, but maybe there's something in this for whoever reads it. And then she just wrote, I should call my mom. And that was it. And then she signed off. And I just thought, oh, like that's a person who's just following the thread of their mind or heart and putting it here. And like she kind of caught herself, which I almost wish she hadn't, corrected herself in that way, but also like it was just so human, and I just loved her. That's how I always feel when I get one of the cards. I'm like, oh, I love you. And that's such a gift for me to feel like that about all these people I'll never really meet in my life. But like you said about the news, it brings me a lot of hope to see humans as humans in this way. And I wish we were getting more of that in like the broader culture, but I'm grateful to be a part of my small little corner of it.
You said corner, and you tricked me a word. This morning, there was in a corner. It was this group of beautiful people, ladies, and I know them, and I was just with them a few days ago, and I confessed, yes, I was drinking a little bit. I confess something really vulnerable and explode my this raw pain to them. And that came so unexpected that I was like, even when I said it, like, what am I doing? And so I haven't seen them since then. I was full of embarrassment by letting them see my vulnerability, seeing my pain. And so, but when I saw them on a corner and I just, I turned down my window and one of them just have a good day. When in that moment I wanted to yell, I love you. I just instead of
Yeah.
letting the embarrassment to hit me, I want to say I love you. And as
Right.
a way of I want to that way more important than my flaws or anything like that. And so I wrote that email to them, to the group, and I told them I saw you and I felt joy.
Mm,
It was not, I was driving and all of that. But my point, what I'm assuring this is that vulnerability sometimes is hard to have that permission. And we talk about perfection. We talk about the outcomes of things, but being ourselves and being real, and then being able to find people who can is okay with that, to can take
yeah.
us in. And like when that person that you mentioned just now, self-center,
Mm,
that's, you got no idea how common that is. Even when I ask people, can you share your story? Well, this other story is more important than mine. And
right.
there's this like, no, there is this sense of we are not seeing ourselves as we are, and we are not giving permissions to be ourselves.
Mhm.
And from embarrassment that I felt this morning to joy to see them say I love you, despite of being raw and all of it, is a beautiful thing. And I hope that this project continues and this project continues to manifest in many different ways. So congratulations for making it happen. Gosh, I do talk a lot. This is
No,
five
you
minutes.
don't.
Five
You do
minutes before your
not.
interview, five minutes before your
5
interview
more
ends,
minutes.
and so you
Okay.
need to talk about the workshop, and then any
Okay.
last thoughts that you might have.
Um, okay, so the workshop is as part of the installation and experiment with the mailboxes. I'm having a workshop on November 15th. I want to say it's 2 to 4 p.m., but I will double check, at the Highline Heritage Museum. And that will be a free to the public drop in workshop. I'll have some prompts, we'll have some blank cards, I'll have some poems and different things to sort of get the thoughts going, and then a little bit of like pointers if you're feeling stuck or nervous. I will have some guidance to offer you, but also it's just free space to come in and write and drop your letter in the mailbox or take it home if you just need the experience of writing. So that is coming up not this Saturday, but next Saturday the 15th, 2 to 4, pretty certain. And then I'm also having this Saturday a rage retreat for women, which sounds like a very different thing from the mailbox, but is actually very much aligned to the mailbox. And that's an in-person retreat. It's all day. It's meant to support the exploration and normalization of the feeling of rage for women, which is something we don't get to talk about or explore that well or that healthily in our culture. So that'll be this Saturday. And then I mentioned some yoga and journaling, and that is another way that I again invite that interaction within the ecosystem of ourselves, kind of listening to our bodies through movement and then through stream of conscious writing in a journal. So I have some of those in North Bend. I think they are all in North Bend through the end of the year. But that's all on my website, pidgepost.com, pidgepost.com. And that's the same. All my socials are Pidge Post, and my email, everything is on that website. So you can find more about the community mailbox experiment on that site as well. And definitely the P.O. box, all the information on how or where to send a letter. If you're not near the community center or the museum, you can always just write and drop a letter in the mail, and we love to get them. So all that information is on there too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this opportunity to get to know you a little bit and to also understand about what the project is, and then extend the invitation for others to continue to do that. And then for the upcoming events are happening. And so again, thank you for this wonderful and beautiful opportunity. And now everyone knows where to find you. And so please, everyone, be curious, explore, do an experiment, try it,
Play, why not
and
try?
just have the freedom to do it. So once
Yeah.
again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anna, for this
Thank you,
opportunity.
Nancy. This is such a treat.
Okay, well, see you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Discover the stories that shape our community with our Highline Voices on 106.5 KQWZ LPFM. Each week we bring you history, heritage, art, and culture from people who make the Highline region unique. From community traditions to contemporary voices, we celebrate what connects us all. Tune in and be part of the conversation. Our Highline Voices right here on 106.5 KQWZ LPFM.